Worldwide peacetime is hanging on by a thread as North Korea continues to provoke its adversaries. While North Korea could be dealt with, the one huge problem is that the rogue nation has one huge ally: China. Hello and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions. I'm Rebecca Felgate, and today I am continuing our war series by asking the ill-fated question, what if America went to war with China? America and China fought on the same side in World War II. However, since then, the countries have had their tensions. China has become a worldwide superpower to rival the States, with the Chinese economy looking to surpass that of the USA by 2050. However, tensions run much deeper than simple economics. China has been building new islands in the South China Sea and has been patrolling said islands with Navy force. This sea space in which these islands have been built span multiple countries, and the United States have accused the Chinese of militarizing this area of ocean, an act which they see as aggressive. Meanwhile, China does not like America's insistence of playing world police, and they consider this to be an imposition on their private affairs. Again, meanwhile, China was extremely displeased at America's airstrike in Syria in 2017. Donald Trump decided to retaliate to the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's use of chemical weapons on his people via a series of targeted attacks on his military bases. Of course, this is all before we even get to North Korea, with which China shares a border. An airstrike on North Korea could very well inadvertently force the Chinese and Americans into a war of their very own. If these two countries found themselves at war, international response would depend on who the aggressor was thought to be. If China struck first, America could summon its allies in Canada, Japan, South Korea, and the UK, and the majority of Europe. This would force China to strengthen its relationship with Russia, Mexico, and North Korea, creating worldwide tension and possible world war. If America was painted as the aggressor, though, they could find themselves alone on the fighting stage, with China coming at them with full force and the help of their allies. Either way, a war between the two world superpowers would be horrifying and destructive. China has a population of 1.35 billion people, with 2.3 million of them in the frontline army. They have 9,000 tanks, 67 submarines, and close to 3,000 aircraft, including the insane J-20 stealth fighter. China also has a nuclear arsenal of around 260 warheads. The Chinese could inflict serious damage to America and its allies, with Hawaii looking pretty vulnerable. Again, it would be perfectly within the reach of the Chinese army to hit Washington State, Oregon, and California, and perhaps even further. Of course, if Russia were to fight on the side of the Chinese, Alaska would be in serious danger, as would America's Canadian allies. Let's see how America's military strength can match up to the Chinese threat. America has a much smaller man army with just 1.2 million soldiers, with a similar number of tanks to the Chinese. America does have far more aircraft at 14,000, but just 5 more submarines than their Asian counterparts. Where America does come up trumps, excuse the pun, is nuclear power. The USA Army has around 6,930 nuclear warheads, by far surpassing the Chinese haul. While arguably the numbers game isn't helpful when it comes to nuclear weapons, as only so many can be launched at one time, America does have the military edge. Once again, the one situation the US does not want to find themselves in at all costs ever is a team-up of China and Russia against the States. That would very much be a war they could not win, as while they may have a slight edge on the China military, it would be swamped by the combination of the pair. Not only would war between China and America be physically devastating for both sides, it would be emotionally horrifying for all Chinese Americans, who would feel very displaced. New York and San Francisco would become extremely tense places. The two countries have come so far together, culturally and politically, and an undoing of this would be one of the greatest tragedies of all time, affecting all corners of the world. Luckily for the moment, Chinese President Xi Jinping seems to be a fair and reasonable man, able to retain his emotions and diplomacy. And while the same cannot be said for US President Donald Trump, I do have to agree with him when he says that if China wants to retain good relationships with the West and keep the peace, they need to be able to deal with their supposed allies, erratic North Korea. So So guys, what do you think would happen if China and America went to war? Lest we remind you that over 70 million people died in World War II, and the stakes are much higher today than ever before. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Guys, also let me know if you do want us to continue our World War series, and leave me some suggestions for future videos. For now, thank you for tuning in to Life's Biggest Questions. Make sure you leave a thumbs up on this video if you enjoyed it, and do not forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Rebecca Felgate. Remember to stay curious, stay alert, and never ever stop questioning.